Okay, can someone reword this question for us?
What are the symptoms of digitalis toxicity?
Yeah. What are signs and symptoms of digitalis toxicity? So, what is our answer? Weakness and palpitation.
4.
Yes. You didn't know that before? Write it down now.
Fizzor means 4.
2 plus 2 equals 4.
Okay.
Good job, Chris.
Way to go, Arizona.
Okay, who wants to reword this question? What is it actually asking us?
What might make joint mobilizations crack bones?
So what's a contraindication to joint mobilization?
Long-term corticosteroid therapy.
Long-term corticosteroid therapy. Why? Increased risk of osteoporosis. 3 and 4 do not matter. Number 1, you should just be able to get the patient to relax. Not a good answer.
And concurrent inhalation therapy means short term. Right?
Yeah, and because you're inhaling it, it would be degradation of the lung tissue, and it wouldn't actually degrade the bones.
Yeah.
Because it's not systemic. Okay, so we have a patient with left-sided heart failure. You don't have to worry about the class. And we're being asked for signs and symptoms of left-sided heart failure. So in general, what are you looking for signs and symptoms of left-sided heart failure? What system is going to be affected?
Systemic circuit.
The pulmonary circuit.
That's what I meant.
Right-sided heart failure is systemic. You have to think of the blood going backwards. So from the left heart, it backs up into the pulmonary system.
It is, but going backwards from the atrium.
Okay, what other signs and symptoms besides pulmonary symptoms are you going to see when the heart is not pumping enough blood?
Fatigue and muscular weakness.
Fatigue and muscular weakness. So the answer is 4. You have the shortness of breath because of the pulmonary edema. And then you have fatigue and muscular weakness because of the low cardiac output. Chest pain is not a sign and symptom of heart failure. They would not gain weight while exercising. It would not happen that quickly, so that's not a good answer. And anyway, dependent edema is peripheral edema, and that is, you see that with right-sided heart failure. And then again, abdominal pain and distension, aka, what do we call that? Ascites, again, happens with right-sided heart failure. Okay, we've had a segment of a lung removed. And we want to instruct the patient in chest expansion exercises. So if you go through each of these, everyone breathe in through your nose and raise your shoulders. What kind of breathing is that? Accessory. No good. Round the shoulders forward. No good. No good. Lean forward, rest your forearms on your thighs and inhale. That would be if a rescue situation, if they couldn't gain their breath in any other way. But if you're facilitating chest expansion, that is not going to do it. You have to breathe in through your nose and push out on the lower ribs to get the lower ribs to expand. The answer is 4. Yes, 42, aka 4. Okay, our patient had an MI 4 weeks ago, and we're being asked about restrictions for resistive training weeks. So are we going to do resistive training during phase 1? No. By 4 weeks though, hopefully that means they're in phase 2. So let's read through these and decide which one sounds best. Okay, ensure exercise intensities are kept below 85%. Way too high, not a good option. Exercise tolerance greater than 5 METs. Does that sound good for phase 2?
No, that's medium.
4 to 5? Yeah. At what MET level are you at discharge from phase 1? 3 to 5. So by 4 weeks,
That's too low.
they're already like at least 3 weeks into phase 2.
Okay, all
So
right.
they should definitely already be at 5 MET. So yeah, that sounds good. And they aren't having any angina, and I'll tell you what that means in a second.
Yeah.
Initiate program at 4 to 6 weeks as long as judicious monitoring of heart rate is used. Is heart rate a reliable source of exercise intensity post-MI? No. It has to be MET level or RPE, so that one is out. Wait until phase 3. Is that necessary? No. So our best answer is number 2. Also, hint in this book, they often the longest one. Not on the actual parts.
Huh.
Okay, so exercise tolerance greater than 5 METs. Yes, they should already be at 5 METs at the start of phase 2. And remember, phase 1 is only 3 to 5 days pending medical stability. So they should definitely already be at 5 METs. The key to all cardiac rehab is no matter what you're doing, do not bring on angina. If you get to an intensity level where they start to have chest pain, it means it's too intense. The coronary arteries cannot supply enough blood to the myocardium. Therefore, you need to decrease the intensity. Now, one of these signs and symptoms that someone is having a heart attack or just had one is ST segment depression on the EKG wave. So,
Oh, QRST.
it would kind of look like that. So, Z, RS, and then this is T. So this is our ST segment between the S and the T. And if this part of the wave becomes depressed, is lower than it should be, that's a sign of an MI. Okay, so write that down. Somewhere where you can remember it. If the segment between the S and the T wave becomes depressed, it's called ST segment depression. It's a sign of they're currently having a heart attack or very recently had one. ST segment depression.
Heart attack, you said? An MI.
Nope, correct.
Okay, let's go to number 6. Okay, we have COPD and we have respiratory acidosis, so we are being asked for signs and symptoms of respiratory acidosis. One of these has nothing to do with anything, the other two are signs and symptoms of respiratory alkalosis. What is our correct answer?
3.
1, disorientation. 2 and 3 are signs and symptoms of respiratory alkalosis.
You line this up.
AKA they blew off too much CO2. And number 4 doesn't happen.
Number 6.
Okay, so if someone starts to hyperventilate and they blow off too much CO2, they may go into respiratory alkalosis. They will be dizzy, lightheaded, and have numbness and tingling in the extremities. But remember, respiratory acidosis is the more serious one, and you end up with more cognitive symptoms like disorientation, and eventually can lead to coma. Okay, the board loves asking about home health, elderly, frail patients. So
Take your wallet.
notice it says, okay, whenever they add in words that have to do with timing, you want to pay close attention. So it says on this day, aka the last time you saw them, they did not have these symptoms. So on this day, they are confused, short of breath, and have generalized weakness. The patient has a history of hypertension and hyperlipidemia. So and that's the only information we're getting. We're not being asked to consider anything else. It's just we have a new onset of confusion, shortness of breath, and weakness, and a history of hypertension and hyperlipidemia. So, number one, mental changes are indicative of early Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's does not manifest that quickly. So that is not the right answer. Are they experiencing unstable angina? Was there anything about chest pain? No, then it's not that. Did they forget to take their hypertension medication?
Possibly.
Maybe, but then the only signs and symptoms they would have would be high blood pressure. They wouldn't have all that other stuff. Could this be signs and symptoms of a heart attack? Yes, definitely. So even if you weren't sure about 3, 4 is a much stronger answer. But yeah, you don't get crazy symptoms if you forget your blood pressure medication. The only symptom is you have high blood pressure. Okay, so they're being asked for a treatment position, and they're saying strengthening exercises, which is super general, pulmonary edema. So this really is not going to end up mattering because we're not given enough information as to what those strengthening exercises are. All we're saying is what would be a great position to put someone in with pulmonary edema. So if someone has pulmonary edema in their lungs, what sort of positions do you not want to put them in? Dependent position. So no head down, no prone, no direct supine. So this one would make it worse because if you elevate the lower extremities, you're getting more blood to that system, and they will not be able to breathe. This is good. It's getting stuff away from the lungs. Side lying, it depends on the side. And prone with head down is horrible. So 2 is your answer.
Oh, I just marked one.
So if someone has pulmonary edema and they had to be on their side, what side would you not want them to be on? Doesn't matter, where's the heart? Over here.
You don't want it.
I would think you don't want them on the right.
You don't want it
You're
going
gonna get more
towards the
blood
lung.
into the lung. Yeah. Sitting or semi-fowler is really what you want. Okay, we have a patient with MS and they've been on prednisolone for the past 4 weeks. Medication is now being tapered off. So this is very common for patients with MS because they have exacerbations. So they'll be put on a medication for a short period of time and then tapered off of it. This is the 3rd time this year that the patient has received this medical treatment. So what are possible adverse effects of this medication? So what type of medication, so we don't know what prednisolone is, pretend if we do. What type of medications are MS patients put on?
Anti-inflammatories.
Anti-inflammatories, corticosteroids. Anything ONE is a corticosteroid. So prednisone is usually how you hear it, Solone is another one. So what is the effects of long-term corticosteroid use?
Osteoporosis.
3.
Got it.
That's number 9.
Okay, so we're doing postural drainage in a Trendelenburg position, which is what?
Head down.
Head down. And our patient is an adolescent with cystic fibrosis. During this treatment, the patient is experiencing right-sided chest pain and shortness of breath. So you're doing postural drainage and head down. And the patient experiences right-sided chest pain and shortness of breath. Upon auscultation, you have absent breath sounds on the right. What should the assistant do in response?
Number 3.
So we have 1, continue treating it as it is possibly a mucus plug.
Maybe.
Reposition the patient with the head of the bed flat as the Trendelenburg position is causing shortness of breath. Are there any contraindications to the Trendelenburg position with cystic fibrosis?
No.
No. Place the right lung in a gravity-dependent position to improve perfusion.
Yup.
Call emergency medical services as it may be a pneumothorax.
No.
So we've got a lot of possibilities. The key here, though, is that this is an adolescent, which means they are growing at a greater rate than normal. And you should not have chest pain or shortness. Well, you should definitely not have chest pain. There may be some shortness of breath with postural drainage, but you should not be having chest pain. Pain is not a symptom in cystic fibrosis. So yes, it is 4. Those are signs and symptoms of a pneumothorax.
Wait.
So patients who are growing quickly, essentially the pleura doesn't have time to catch up with the rate of growth, and you end up with a hole. Okay, and the key thing here is it's not diminished breath sounds, as would be indicative of a mucus plug. There's absent, and they have the pain. The pain is not normal. So these 3 together are signs and symptoms of a pneumothorax. Okay, cholesterol. We didn't review this, but you do have to know it. So we have a patient whose total cholesterol is 220, their HDL is 24, and their LDL is 160. So what total cholesterol is considered healthy?
Below 200.
Less than 200. Okay, so you want total to be less than 200. What do you want LDL, the bad cholesterol, to be?
Below 140.
Less than 100. Write this down. If you didn't know it, you better be writing it down now.
Number 10, correct?
Total less than 200. LDL less than 100. Once again, I mentioned this and it is on page 222 in this book. And you must know it. This whole green chart.
HDL should be above what? Above 1.
HDLs are good cholesterol. We want it to be greater than 40. HDL greater than 40 is ideal. LDL less than 100 is ideal. Total less than 200. Those are fasting levels. They have to be measured post-fasting.
The answer is
So, what's our answer?
4.
4.
Always with the buttons mixed up versus color-based.
Yeah. Above 40.
Okay, we have a patient receiving postural drainage 3 times a day. What is going to be our sign or symptom for decreasing frequency of postural drainage? Less drainage, which is number 4. If you have less drainage, you don't need to do postural drainage as often. Okay, so our patient fainted in the clinic. Episode of syncope. They fainted. And the PT asks the PTA to check to see if the patient has orthostatic hypotension. So, checking heart rate and blood pressure in supine after 5 minutes of rest, and then repeating in the semi-Fowler position, which is head of the bed, elevated 30 degrees. Yes or no?
Yes.
Keep it in there. Palpating the carotid arteries and taking heart rate using the supine position for blood pressure. There's no position change, so that's not going to tell us anything. Checking heart rate and blood pressure at rest, and then again after 3 to 5 minutes of biking. No, does that have anything to do with position? No. Check resting BP and heart rate and sitting, and then repeat measurements after standing for 1 minute. So let's go back to the question. It's asking us to check to see whether the patient is experiencing orthostatic hypotension. It's not actually asking you to consider the first sentence.
But we to wait 2 minutes. So 1 minute would be too
4
short.
is the better answer. Because when are they more likely to faint? Sit to stand, not supine.
She's not answering.
You're
her,
in
so
the
it's
clinic,
not
which means
helping.
you're an outpatient, which means they're walking into the clinic.
Thank you.
So 4 is the stronger answer. 1 minute would be fine. Your blood pressure is supposed to normalize like after 20 seconds. Yeah, and 5 minutes is too long. Yeah, the max that would be 1 to 2 minutes. So 1's not bad, 4 is better. Okay, this is one I said you didn't know yet, but you have to know it now. Okay, so we have a patient who has a 4-year history of taking aspirin for joint pain. So they take aspirin on a regular basis for their joint pain. Recently, they began taking a calcium channel blocker, and we're being asked for adverse side effects that we need to be aware of. So, NSAIDs and calcium channel blockers compete with each other. So essentially, if you're on a calcium channel blocker and you take an NSAID or take it often, it will diminish the effects of the calcium channel blocker. It will make it ineffective. Which one sounds worse? 2, because we have a confusion, so that's your answer. When in doubt, go with confusion, disorientation, or palpitation. So the hypertension is because the calcium channel blocker isn't actually doing what it's supposed to do. And then the GI distress as well. Just know no NSAIDs and calcium channel blockers together.
Does that lead to hepatic toxicity? Just indigestion.